We took a little break, but we're back.
What are we back for?
We're back. Social distancing story time.
We were going to do a little family bedtime reading, and we said, why not just throw it up on the old interwebs? See if anybody else wants to tune in and join us for some books, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we said, dudes?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are we going to read, kids?
Yeah, this one.
This one? And what one is this? Eve, you took the book jacket. This is Dapply's nursery rhymes, which means...
And it's a Potter, one of the Potter books.
Beatrix Potter, that's right. And that means it's time for Mommy's Bad British Accent.
No.
Okay, Evie, please don't scream while I do my British accent.
I
Because...
don't like you with an accent.
But Stacia does like it. The people enjoy mocking me, so let's do it. I won't do it for very long, okay? Appley Dapply, a little brown mouse, goes to the cupboard in somebody's house. In somebody's cupboard, there's everything nice. Cake, cheese, jam, biscuits, all charming for mice. Oh, but not charming for Evie's. Appley Dapply has little sharp eyes, and Appley Dapply is so fond of pies. Stop whining, sweetheart. Now, who is this knocking at Cottontail's door? Tap, tap it, tap, tap it. She's heard it before. And when she peeps out, there is nobody there but a present of carrots put down on the stair. Hark! I hear it again. Tap, tap it. Tap, tap it. Why, I really believe it is a little black rabbit. Old Mr. Pricklepin has never a cushion to stick his pins in. His nose is black and his beard is grey, and he lives in an ash stump over the way.
I can't really see.
Well, go on the other side then. You know the old woman who lived in a shoe and had so many children she didn't know what to do? Do you know about her? Mm-hmm. I think if she lived in a little shoe house, that little old woman was surely a mouse. Do you know anybody else that could fit into a shoe?
A mouse.
Probably just a mouse, right? Diggory, diggory, delve it, a little old man in black velvet. He digs and he delves, you can see for yourselves, the mounds dug by Diggory Delvet. Gravy and potatoes in a good round pot, put them in the oven and serve them very hot. There once was an amiable guinea pig who brushed back his hair like a periwig. Do you know what amiable means? It means nice. He wore a sweet tie, as blue as the sky.
You're amiable.
I'm amiable, thank you so much. And his whiskers and buttons were very big. The end. What's next?
The bear sleeps on and on.
The bear snores on. Who else? Do you know anyone that snores?
Me. I do.
Evie snores and Stacia snores. It's true. You guys both snore a little bit when you lay on your back.
And my mom used to.
Mommy snores a little bit sometimes too. How do you know that?
Because I do sleepovers with her.
Because you do sleepovers and sometimes I snore. Oops. In a cave in the woods, in his deep dark lair, through the long cold winter sleeps a great brown bear. Cuddled in a heap with his eyes shut tight, he sleeps through the day, he sleeps through the night. The cold winds howl and the night sounds growl, but the bear snores on. Are you guys going to help me? An itty-bitty mouse, pitter-pat, tiptoe, creep crawls in the cave from the fluff-cold snow. Mouse squeaks, too damp, too dank, too dark, so he lights wee twigs with a small hot spark. The coals pip-pop and the wind doesn't stop, but the bear snores on. Come on, girls, you gotta help. Two glowing eyes sneak peek in the den. Mouse cries, "Who's there?" And a hare hops in. "Ho," Mouse says, "Hare, long time no see." So they pop white corn and they brew black tea. Mouse sips, wee slurps, hare burps, big burps. But
Bear snores on.
That's right. A badger scuttles by, sniffs, snuffs in the air. I smell yummy yums. Perhaps we can share. I've brought honey nuts, Badger says with a grin. Let's divvy them up, cozy down and dig in. And they nibble and they munch with a chew chomp crunch. But the
Bear's nose on.
That's right. A gopher and a mole tunnel up through the floor. Then a wren and a raven flutter in through the door. Mole mutters, what a night. What a storm, twitters wren. Everybody clutters in the great bear's den. They tweet and they titter, they chat and they chitter, but
The bear's nose on.
in a cave in the woods, a slumbering bear sleeps through the party in his very own lair. Hare stokes the fire, mouse seasons stew, then a small pepper fleck makes the bear chew. He blows and he sneezes, and the whole crowd freezes. And the bear wakes up. Bear gnarls and he snarls. Bear roars and he rumbles. Bear jumps and he stomps. Bear growls and he grumbles. You've snuck in my lair and you've all had fun, but me, I was sleeping and I've had none. And he whimpers and he moans and he wails and he groans. And the bear blubbers on. Mouse squeaks, don't fret, don't fuss, look, see, we can pop more corn, we can brew more tea. That's a problem solver, that mouse. Bear gulps, bear gobbles, he sighs with delight. Then he spins tall tales through the blustery night. When the sun peeks up on a crisp, clear dawn, bear can't sleep, but his friends snore on. Next book. The Happy Bears. Mama and Papa Bear and Baby Bear all lived in the forest, but instead of living in a house as the other bears did, do you know any bears that live in houses? I don't really either. Instead of living in a house as the other bears did, they spent all their time going on picnics. As soon as the sun was up in the morning, they would start out, Papa Bear carrying the picnic basket and whistling a happy tune. When they found a place they liked, Mama Bear would unpack the picnic basket and Baby Bear would put down cushions to sit on. Then Papa Bear would take his fishing pole and go fishing. This is better than staying in the house all day, he would say. Later, Mama Bear would spread out the tablecloth and put out the picnic sandwiches and cake and fruit, and they would all eat until they couldn't hold any more. After lunch, Baby Bear would go wading in the stream, and Mama Bear would sit on the bank and make daisy chains. They were as happy as could be. Papa Bear would usually take a nap in the afternoon, and Mama Bear would sit and knit until he woke up. Then they would have a picnic supper. The three bears were all very happy living this way. As long as the sun was shining and the days were nice and warm, they had nothing to worry about. But one day when Papa Bear woke up from his nap, the sun was not shining, and there was a strong wind blowing. My, it seems cold, said Papa Bear. Suddenly it got very dark, and there was a loud thunderclap. Is that kind of like tonight? Kinda, except has the rain already stopped? I think it's already moved on. Papa, cried Baby Bear, I'm scared.
No, it's not already moved on.
Oh, it's still raining a little bit? Just not as dark as it was.
I can hear it.
Okay. I'm scared, and he climbed up a tree. Then it began to rain, big, heavy raindrops, and the bear family was soon dripping wet. We must hurry and get out of the rain, said Papa Bear. But where can we go, said Mama Bear. If only we had a nice warm home to go to. I don't like this kind of picnic, said Baby Bear. They hurried through the woods, and suddenly Baby Bear saw something among the trees. Look, he cried, a house. Mama Bear went to the door. There was a sign on it that said, for sale. Please come in. How convenient. Papa Bear looked under the doormat, and there was a key. So they opened the door and went in. Here we are, said Papa Bear, safe and sound. This house is just right for us, said Mama Bear. I'd like to stay here, said Baby Bear. That night they all put on pajamas that they found in the bedrooms and slept cozily in nice warm beds. "My," said Baby Bear, "I didn't know living in a house was so much fun." The next morning, Mrs. Bear swept the floor and made the house clean and tidy, and Papa Bear put on his hat and went whistling off to work, like other Papa Bears. And Baby Bear played in a big sandbox he found in the yard. "I like picnics," he said, "but homes are fun too." What's next? Oh, another Kiwi Crate book. This is Kellan's Campfire Concert. One night, Kellan the koala, Peter the parrot, and Ella the alligator went camping in the forest. "I can't wait to sleep under the stars," Kellan said. They laid out sleeping bags, lit a campfire, and settled in for stories and songs. Then, all of a sudden, croak. What was that? Asked Kellan. "No idea," squeaked Peter. "Hoo-hoo! Heek!" cried Ella. "Somebody cover my eyes!" "Chirp, chirp, chirp!" "Run for cover!" Peter shouted. "Hoo-hoo! Chirp, chirp, chirp! The forest is too dark," said Peter, "and full of strange noises," added Ella. "I want to go home." Kellan flicked on his flashlight, ready to lead the way. When he saw croak. What makes a croaking noise?
Frog.
"Hey, I know what the sounds are," called Kellan. "Come on." They took a few steps and saw hoot. Owl. Then they took a few more steps and saw chirp, 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 chirp.
Ants.
Oh, they look like ants, but they're crickets. "We didn't hear any scary sounds. We heard friendly forest sounds," cheered Kellan. "Sometimes things that might seem scary, hoo, 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 chirp, 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 are adventures waiting to be found." Okay, girls, I need to check on our pasta. Stacia, do you want to read Blue Hat, Green Hat to everybody?
I can read this one book.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Mercy Watson book. That's the last book we have. But I can read this one. I skipped a punch. All right. Blue hat, green hat, red hat, yellow hat. Red, blue hat, green hat, red hat, yellow hat. Oops. What's wrong, Eve? What did they do wrong? The duck put it on his... You mean the turkey? Red shirt, blue shirt, yellow shirt, green shirt. Oops. What did he do wrong? He is one silly turkey, huh?
Yeah, he just put it on without putting his arms in.
Yeah, that's pretty silly, huh?
And it is.
All right.
Yellow pants, red pants, green pants, blue pants. Oops.
What did he do wrong?
He
Where do those pants belong?
on his feet. Blue coat, green hat. Blue coat, green coat. Oops.
What did he do wrong?
Red socks, yellow socks. Oops.
What did
Evie,
he
where do the
wrong?
socks belong?
On his feet, but he put it on his arms.
So crazy.
Green shoes, yellow shoes, blue shoes. Oops.
What did he do wrong?
Where did he put that red shoe?
On his head.
And
Oh
by
my
the way,
goodness.
where is his other shoe? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yellow hat, green shirt, blue pants, purple socks, red shoes.
Oops.
Oops.
Do you go swimming with all your clothes on, including a hat?
Definitely not.
No way, Jose.
Some people go swimming with hats on.
That's true. Okay, let's get ready for the last book. Who's got it? Whoop, whoop. Thanks, dude. Okay. This is a nice long one for the big finish. Kate DiCamillo's Mercy Watson Goes for a Ride, illustrated by Chris Van Dusen.
Do pigs ever live in houses? No. They live in barns.
It's true, they do mostly live in barns. Mr. Watson and Mrs. Watson have a pig named Mercy. Every Saturday, Mrs. Watson makes a special lunch.
Toast!
Time for our little Saturday something, Mrs. Watson says. You've outdone yourself, Mrs. Watson, Mr. Watson says. Oink, says Mercy. Every Saturday after lunch, Mr. Watson goes outside. Mercy follows him. They stand in the driveway. Together, they admire Mr. Watson's convertible. Are you ready? Asks Mr. Watson. Oink, says Mercy. Mr. Watson opens the passenger door. Mercy hops into the car. She sits behind the wheel. She snuffles contentedly. Chapter 2. Says Mr. Watson every Saturday. You, my dear, are a porcine wonder, but even porcine wonders cannot drive cars. Mr. Watson gently pushes Mercy toward the passenger seat, but Mercy does not move. She does not want to sit in the passenger seat. Miss Mercy Watson wants to drive. Says Mr. Watson again. He pushes less gently. Scoot over, my dear. Mercy does not move. Help me, Mr. Watson calls out. Every Saturday, Mrs. Watson steps outside. Darling, Mrs. Watson says, if you let Mr. Watson drive, I will make you an extra helping of hot buttered toast. I will have it waiting for you when you get back home. Mercy narrows her eyes. She loves hot buttered toast. She also loves extra helpings. Slowly, very slowly, she moves over to the passenger side. What a dear, says Mrs. Watson. She claps her hands. You are such a good sport, darling. Yes, said Mr. Watson, she most certainly is. He gets in the car and sits behind the wheel. He turns the key in the ignition. The Watson convertible rumbles to life. Chapter 3. Bon voyage, Mrs. Watson calls. Bon voyage, my dears. When you get home, we will all have hot buttered toast. Goodbye, Mrs. Watson, Mr. Watson hollers. He backs the car out of the driveway very quickly. He does not look behind him. Mr. Watson is a forward-looking man. He does not believe in looking back. Oink, says Mercy. Already she is having a good time. And we're off, says Mr. Watson. We're off on an adventure. Eugenia Lincoln and baby Lincoln live next door to the Watsons. Every Saturday, the Lincoln sisters watch Mercy and Mr. Watson back out of the driveway. Every Saturday, Eugenia is displeased. Mr. Watson is a very bad driver, she says. He is a menace behind the wheel.
No, he's not a menace.
Yes, sister, says baby. Furthermore, says Eugenia, it is my firm opinion that pigs should not be taken for rides in automobiles. Particularly...
And he is a good driver.
Well, we'll see. Particularly that pig. That pig is a sly pig. I do not trust her. No, sister, says baby. Baby looks down the road. The car had disappeared. Mr. Watson and Mercy are gone. Folly, says Eugenia Lincoln. She shakes her fist. It is folly, I say. Yes, sister, says baby. But secretly, baby Lincoln thinks that a little folly wouldn't be a bad thing. Chapter 5. One Saturday, Mrs. Watson made a special lunch. After lunch, Mr. Watson and Mercy went outside. Everything happened just as it always did every Saturday on Deckawoo Drive. What folly, said Eugenia Lincoln as usual. What nonsense. She paused. Eugenia waited for baby to say, yes, sister. But baby said nothing. Baby said nothing because baby was not there. Chapter 6. Officer Tomalello sat in his police cruiser. A pink convertible sped past him. Was that a pig? Officer Tomalello asked himself. Yes, it was, he answered himself. That most certainly was a pig.
He answers a lot of questions himself.
He does. He does a little, it's called call and response. He asks the question and then he answers it.
Pigs do not drive in cars, and they live in barns.
They do. They don't usually drive
And we
cars.
also give hugs to their little sisters.
What does that have to do with a pig? Nothing at all. All right. Is it illegal to take a pig for a ride? Officer Tomalello asked himself.
Yes, it most certainly is.
I don't believe it is, he answered himself. It is unusual, he continued, but unusual does not equal illegal. However, it is illegal to speed. And that vehicle was definitely speeding. Officer Tomalello turned on his flashing lights. He pulled out onto the highway. He followed the car with the pig in it. Chapter 7. In the car with the pig in it, the pig was having a very good time. The wind was tickling her ears. The sun was warm on her snout. Even though she was not the one behind the wheel, Mercy was happy. Mr. Watson was happy too. There's nothing like a fast drive to clear the mind, he shouted. Isn't that right, my dear? Oink, said Mercy. It is wonderful to go fast, said a voice from the... Oh, wrong voice. It is wonderful to go fast, said a voice from the back seat. Who said that? Said Mr. Watson. Me, said Baby Lincoln. Mr. Watson looked over his shoulder. Hello, Mr. Watson, said Baby. Oink, said Mercy. Hello, Mercy, said Baby. What are you doing? Shouted Mr. Watson. I'm having a little adventure, said Baby. I am indulging in some folly. Folly, said Mr. Watson. Mercy narrowed her eyes. Mr. Watson was looking over his shoulder at Baby. He was not looking at the road. Mercy saw her chance. She gathered her strength. She leaped. Help! Mr. Watson said, help me! Whee! Said Baby Lincoln. What folly, what fun, what adventure! Please, said Mr. Watson, get off me! He pushed at Mercy with both hands, but Mercy did not move. She put her front hooves on the steering wheel. She was in the driver's seat, and she intended to stay there. Chapter 8. Back on Decawoo Drive, Eugenia Lincoln was looking for Baby. She looked in Baby's bed. Baby was not there. She looked on the back step. Baby was not there either. Baby, shouted Eugenia, reveal yourself at once. But Baby did not reveal herself. Where could she be, said Eugenia, and why do I think this has something to do with that pig? Eugenia marched next door. She rang the Watsons' bell. Ding dong. Mrs. Watson, said Eugenia, Baby is missing. Goodness, said Mrs. Watson, and I believe that your pig is responsible, said Eugenia. Mercy? Said Mrs. Watson. Yes, said Eugenia, exactly. But Mercy is not here, said Mrs. Watson. She is on her Saturday ride with Mr. Watson. Eugenia turned and looked down the road. Folly, she said. Heavens, said Mrs. Watson. You don't think? I do think, said Eugenia. That is my point exactly. I do think, and apparently I am the only one around here who does. Officer Tomalello had to go very fast to catch up with the convertible. The officer had to speed. Is that vehicle swerving? Officer Tomalello asked himself. It is, he answered himself. It is most definitely swerving. Is the driver of that vehicle breaking the law? Officer Tomalello said. Without a doubt, he answered. The law is being broken. It is time to take action. Officer Tomalello pulled up alongside the car. He shouted into his bullhorn. Pull over! The driver turned. The driver looked at him. The driver oinked. Is that pig behind the wheel? Officer Tomalello asked himself. Yes, he answered himself. Yes, that pig is most definitely behind the wheel. Again, Officer Tomalello shouted into his bullhorn. Pull over. Pigs cannot drive cars. Pull over immediately. He is absolutely correct, said Mr. Watson. Pigs cannot drive cars, and I would like to pull over, but I can no longer feel my legs. Therefore, I cannot step on the brake pedal. Therefore, I cannot stop this car. Oh, dear, said Baby. I think we are in trouble. Chapter 10. Back on Decawoo Drive, Mrs. Watson invited Eugenia inside. There is no point in worrying alone, said Mrs. Watson. Come in and help me fix a snack for my darlings. Mrs. Watson brought Eugenia into the kitchen. "Will you help me butter some toast?" asked Mrs. Watson. "Toast?" grumbled Eugenia. "Who cares about toast?" "Don't worry," said Mrs. Watson. She patted Eugenia on the back. "If baby is with Mr. Watson, then she is just fine. Mr. Watson is an excellent driver." "He is a menace," said Eugenia. "Pardon?" said Mrs. Watson. "Nothing," said Eugenia. She picked up a piece of toast. She applied the tiniest amount of butter. "Oh, heavens," said Mrs. Watson. "You have to put on more than that. Mercy likes a great deal of butter on her toast." "Who cares how pigs like their toast?" Eugenia said. There, said Mrs. Watson. "I know you are worried, but everything will work out. Baby will come home. In the meantime, why don't we just concentrate on our buttering?" "Toast is not the answer," grumbled Eugenia, but she buttered another piece anyway. Chapter 11. "You must stop the car," shouted Officer Tomalolo. "But I cannot stop the car," said Mr. Watson. "Oink, oink," said Mercy. She was having an excellent time.
But no.
"I have no idea, Mr. Watson," said Baby Lincoln. "If you tell me where the brake pedal is—" "Oh, I have an idea, Mr. Watson," said Baby Lincoln. "If you tell me where the brake pedal is, I will apply it." "The brake pedal," said Mr. Watson from underneath Mercy, "is the pedal to the left of the gas pedal. The brake pedal is the pedal that I do not have my foot on." Baby unbuckled her seatbelt. She climbed into the front seat. She put her seatbelt on. She slid as close to Mr. Watson as she could. She looked down. She saw Mr. Watson's foot. She saw the pedal next to it. "I have located the brake pedal, Mr. Watson," Baby announced. "Excellent," said Mr. Watson. "Now apply it." Baby stretched across Mr. Watson. "I am applying the brake pedal, Mr. Watson," Baby shouted. Hold on, everyone." The car screeched. The car shuddered. The car careened. The car caromed. And finally, the car stopped. Mercy was very surprised. Suddenly, she was not driving the car. Suddenly, she was not even in the car. Suddenly, Mercy was airborne. Mr. Watson was wearing his seatbelt. He did not fly out of the car. Baby Lincoln was wearing her seatbelt. She did not fly out of the car. Officer Tomalolo was safe in his police cruiser. He did not fly out of his car. Only Mercy flew. And why did she fly?
Because she didn't have a seatbelt.
No seatbelt. That's right. That's why we wear our seatbelts. "Oh, dear," said Baby. "It's an emergency," shouted Mr. Watson. "Alert the fire department." "Was that pig wearing a seatbelt?" Officer Tomalolo asked. "No," he answered himself. That pig most certainly was not. "Have laws been broken here?" asked Officer Tomalolo. "Most certainly, most definitely, laws have been broken here." Mr. Watson and Baby Lincoln and Officer Tomalolo watched Mercy fly. They watched her land. Oof. Mr. Watson got out of the car. He ran to Mercy. He wrapped his arms around her and held her tight. "My darling, my dear," he said to her, "please tell me that you're all right." "Oink," said Mercy. She snuffled Mr. Watson's neck. "Hooray," said Baby. "She is fine." "Oh, thank you," said Mr. Watson. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." He bent his head and covered the tips of Mercy's ears with kisses. "You are a miracle, a prodigy, a dear," Mr. Watson said. "You are a porcine wonder, but even porcine wonders cannot drive. In fact, porcine wonders should never be allowed to drive, ever." Mercy sighed. She was glad the ride was over. She felt a tiny bit dizzy and a little bit dazed. She wanted very much to go home. Chapter 13. Eugenia Lincoln and Mrs. Watson stood together on the Watsons' front porch. They watched a police car pull into the driveway. Mr. Watson and Mercy and Baby Lincoln were all in the back seat. "As I suspected," said Eugenia. "Trouble, folly, and that pig is right in the middle of it." "Oh," said Mrs. Watson, "my darlings, my dears." She ran out to the police car. "I am so glad you are home. The toast was starting to get cold." Mr. Watson and Baby Lincoln got out of the car. "We have had something of an adventure, Mrs. Watson," Mr. Watson said. "Yes," said Baby. "We have had an adventure, sister." "No, thank you." "Folly," replied Eugenia Lincoln. Yes, agreed Baby Lincoln happily. Folly. Laws have been broken, said Officer Tomilello. Pig, shouted Eugenia. Excuse me, said Officer Tomilello. It's all that pig's fault, said Eugenia. She pointed at Mercy.
Mommy, just poke him in the
Oh,
eye.
I'm sorry. Mercy climbed out of the car. She put her nose up in the air. She sniffed. Could it be? Yes. It was. Toast. Toast with a great deal of butter on it. What could be better? You could take the newspaper out of your mouth. Chapter 14. Laws have been broken, said Officer Tomilello. Tickets must be written. Officer, do you like toast? Mrs. Watson asked. Toast, said Officer Tomilello. Do I like toast? Why, yes, I do. I do like toast. Why don't you come inside and have some, said Mrs. Watson. Why don't I come inside and have some toast? Asked Officer Tomilello. Said Officer Tomilello. I can't think of a reason not to. Lovely, said Mrs. Watson. She clapped her hands together. Right this way. What nonsense, grumbled Eugenia Lincoln. Toast is not the answer. No, sister, said Baby Lincoln, but it does smell heavenly. She took hold of Eugenia's hand. Well, said Eugenia, it has been expertly buttered. Why did she say that? Because she helped butter it? And so, that Saturday, Officer Tomilello and Eugenia Lincoln and Baby Lincoln and Mr. and Mrs. Watson and Mercy Watson all sat around the table together and ate hot buttered toast. Did Mercy Watson have extra helpings? She did. And so did Officer Tomilello. All right, that's it. What do we
Bye,
say?
guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back. Hopefully not too long, from as long as the other one, but